Welcome to Career Essentials. Today I'm going to talk to you about learning how to learn. It's a tip I learned from Tony Robbins, and it's one of those things that you can use no matter which stage you are, whether in school, academic studies, whether you're in university, college, or any other point in life for that matter. When it comes to learning, we can only apply or make it relevant to what we already know. So if you have it up here what you want to know, and down here is what you know already. To get to the bit that you don't know or the unknown, you've got to relate it with something that you already know. So to give you a very simple example, let's say when you were growing up as a kid, when you were in primary school, how was maths first introduced to you? You weren't just told 2 plus 2 is 4. Instead, you were told you've got two oranges, and over here you've got another two oranges. What happens when you put them all together? So oranges and counting is something that you're probably familiar with at the time. So it's using that analogy or that example to illustrate the meaning of 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. It's that very simple concept where you've got the unknown and you've got what you already know, and then you bridge it using an example, but you relate it with what you already know. So this is what you got to use with regards to understanding something that you don't know. So let's look at an example that's maybe a bit more complex. So let's say you are in sort of upper school and you're studying physics. Now, this is testing my memory of physics as well. So let's see how this goes. Let's take Newton's law. Newton's first law says that a body will travel in a uniform line at constant velocity or stay stationary or remain stationary unless acted upon by an unbalanced external force. Now it sounds rather complicated. It is comprehensive, but the terminology isn't something that is used every day. So it's a bit like, whoa, what does that mean? All it means is that when something is traveling in a straight line, it'll keep traveling in a straight line. Or if something's stationary, it'll remain stationary unless there's something that's going to move it or that's going to affect it. So that's what it really means in a nutshell, in simple English. And that's how I related that example of the Newton's first law, whereas in a more comprehensive and more sort of physics terminology explanation, you can relate it with some of the more day-to-day words that are used to illustrate the meaning of that law. So that's another example. So whenever you come across something that's very complicated to get your head around, remember this. Always link it with something you've already know. Ask your teachers, your mentors, or whoever you're learning it from to give an example of how to relate it. Similarly, you can flip it the other way around. So that's in learning, but when it comes to teaching, you want to get something across and you've mentioned a certain thing, and whoever you've said this to is unable to get their head around it completely, use an example. Stories can be great too, which is also an example but in a different form. Use an example and you'll find that when they can relate to what they already know, through that example, they'll understand what you're trying to say and get to the meaning of that unknown. So that's a tip for you to not only just learn how to learn, but learn how to teach effectively. See you soon.